All right, we should be live in a few moments.
Alright,
And we
post
are.
link.
Yeah, one sec.
Alright, great.
It's loading. I got the link. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to give it 2 more minutes because some of the @everyone things went out a bit late. But stay with us and we will start the show very shortly. All right then. Let's get started. Welcome everyone to the March 2022 state election results show for ModelUSGov. And today joining me are, as always, APG and Icy. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
And the results we're going to be presenting today are going to be the gubernatorial and lieutenant gubernatorial results in Atlantic and Fremont, as well as all 5 state legislatures for the future term. So without further ado, let's get started. So first up is the state of Atlantic, where the Greens and the Republicans are fighting for control of the governor's mansion. As you can see from the exit polls, the Republicans are in the lead for governor, with Super PAC-Man leading Eddie 58 to 42, while for lieutenant governor, it's a two-way tie between the independent candidate, President DOOE, and incumbent governor, My House is on Fire. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the exit polls for the legislature. And here we can see that the Republicans are ahead at 44, with the Democrats and the Greens both trailing behind around the 30 points. Before we go to elections, do either of the analysts have anything to add?
Quite the comeback for the Green gubernatorial candidate there. Was polling, in the 30s really the entire campaign session, but then just really came back strong. I guess kudos, but yeah, that's also another good point. I feel as if the independent candidate Dewey had a really good shot, and then they missed their alarm on the last day, and was not seen campaigning. So could that still give him the win? Who knows? Maybe people like that thing.
All I know is if I was a Dewey supporter on the election day rally and my candidate did not turn up, I might be very disappointed. That being said, let's go right now to results. And in the Atlantic Commonwealth, we have our legislative results first. The Republicans are ahead at 45 points, earning them because of list calculations 4 seats, with the Democrats on 2 and the Greens on 1, which will give the Republicans a governing majority in the legislature. Now let's turn now to the gubernatorial and lieutenant governor results. And here, after a very tightly fought race between the Republicans and the Democrat endorsed Greens, we have a Republican victory in the races, with Super PAC-Man 04 becoming governor of Atlantic, finally replacing outgoing Governor House, who has been in office for many terms, while House will now be going down one level to lieutenant governor, having been elected with 4 points ahead of his closest opponent, President Dewey. Let's now go for analysis.
Yeah, really interesting race here. Again, the lieutenant governor race, very close. I'm not really sure why Governor House decided to step down to the lieutenant governor position, but I mean both names are very well known in the Commonwealth. The Green candidates put up a pretty good show for what I believe is their first gubernatorial candidate, certainly in this state, but maybe in all 5 states. I can't quite remember.
Thank you. Anything to add, Icy, or should we move on to the next state?
We can move on.
Alrighty, let's now go to our second state, to the Old Dominion, the Commonwealth of Greater Appalachia. And in this state, we have in our exit polls the Democratic Labor Party, which is currently governing at the governor's mansion with Governor Goog, ahead by 4 points against the Republicans, who are on 46. Now let's go quickly to the legislative results which we have coming in. And here, to no surprise, the Democrats are ahead with 61% of the vote, narrowly missing out on a fifth seat and giving them a preserved but shrunken majority in the legislature, and giving Governor Goog a continued trifecta for the second part of his term. Do we have anything to add here?
Nothing from me, really. Icy?
Just one thing. It's again a continuance of a remarkable string of dominance in Greater Appalachian politics by Governor Goog and his Democratic Labor Party. It's remarkable, even.
Thank you. Now let's go to the least racist state on earth, Dixie. And in Dixie, we have a three-way race. The governor's mansion is not up in the state, but we have a close race for the legislature. Democrats at 43, Republicans at 42, and the Greens trailing behind at 15. And now let's go to the results here. And here, no surprise, very similar results. We have the Republicans ahead on 44, the Democrats closely behind at 42, but this is not enough to make a difference in terms of seats. So both parties come out with 3 seats, and the Greens pick up 1 seat through the list. This, again, makes the Dixie legislature evenly divided. And now let's quickly go for analysis.
Again, I really don't have anything to report here.
It's just interesting to see with the Greens sort of flip-flopping back between agreements with the GOP and the Dems. It'll be interesting to see what they who they try to collaborate with for the majority there.
Thank you. And just for clarification, I know the sidebar seems to have a small graphical mistake. Atlantic does in fact have a Republican majority and not a 3-3-1 split as the chart shows. Apologies for this error. Now let's quickly go to the last state that does not have a gubernatorial race up, and that is Superior. And in the state of Superior, we have a very close race, 51 to 49. So it could be anyone's race. And now let's look at the results. And in terms of results, Democrats win 4 seats, while the Republicans are behind at 3, giving the Democrats control of this legislature once again. Here, do we have any analysis, or should we move on?
I'll just add one thing. I think something very interesting is that Superior has become kind of a battleground, I guess, for lack of a better term. We typically think of it as leaning Democratic, but a lot of pathways to the White House run through Superior. So I think in the upcoming presidential elections, we might see some focus back on the state and a lot more competition between Republicans and Democrats, and maybe even the Greens if they decide to run a presidential candidate.
All right, thank you. And finally, let's go to the 5th state. We'll try to wrap this show up pretty quickly. And so, going out west to the West Coast, to the beautiful Pacific Coast, we are in Fremont, where the last executive races of the night are. And here we have incumbent Governor Gregor attempting to seek re-election against Republican challenger Michael D. Grant. While for Lieutenant Governor, Brexit Blaze attempts to keep this seat for the Democrats, while Melp challenges for the Republicans. As you can see, they are quite neck and neck, with very little difference between the 2 candidates in both races. And in terms of the state legislature, we have the Democrats ahead, with the Republicans behind on 35, the Greens on 20. So this could play out in several ways, and let's quickly go to the legislative results. And in the state legislature, Democrats on 45 do not manage to pick up that 4th seat, which means the result will be 3-3-1, keeping the same assembly composition as the outgoing term. This will mean, of course, that whoever governs will need the support of the Green Party to pass their legislative agenda. And finally, let's go to probably some of the most contested races of the night, to the executive offices in Fremont. And here we can clearly see that the Republicans have managed to win both executive races, 56 in the governor's race, 63 in the lieutenant governor's race, flipping 2 very strongly Democratic executive offices. Let's go now for analysis.
very stunning results tonight in the governor race. I don't really think a lot of people saw this coming because Democrats have had such a hold on the Fremont legislature and the executive branch for a while now. You know, I guess there was enough resentment, or maybe not resentment necessarily, but enough momentum behind the Republicans this time to finally uh, take the office for the first time in a very, very, very long time.
Extremely long.
Thank you. And might I just add for the record that Michael D. Grant will be the first Republican governor of the Republic of Fremont since 2010, when, of course, um, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor, the last governor of the Republican Party.
Yeah, remarkable. And it's nice the dichotomy here between the GOP governor candidate and the lieutenant governor candidate is pretty stunning. We have a relative newcomer here taking this governor race from behind in a pretty shocking fashion, and then we have a really old guard Republican, a carpetbagger from who ran against Goog many times in Greater Appalachia, and he seems to have carpetbagged out west and has found a little bit of a success there, the former GOP chair Melp. So it's interesting to see this split between them.
Thank you. And yeah, these are our final results. So throughout we can see, the American people have clearly delivered a very mixed verdict here. While the Republicans have managed to sweep all four executive races that were up tonight, the legislatures have tended to favor the coalition, although the Republicans did finally manage to get control of their stronghold in the Atlantic Commonwealth. With that being said, do either of you have anything more to add about the state of the night?
Not for the state of the night, no. I do have some general announcements once we're over. Icy?
No, don't have much to say that I haven't already said.
All right, thank you. And so that concludes our results show. And yeah, ATG, take it away with any announcements.
Yeah, to the 8 other people watching, you guys are going to get a great sneak preview here. Post-mortem post will probably be coming out tonight or tomorrow as per usual. There's also going to be a couple different posts, just sort of about preparing for the next election because it is a presidential election. The first will be an interest gauging form on if people want to do a practice election sometime next month. I tried to do this a while ago, but I noticed a lot of new names submitting sheets this time. So, I guess just list your interest on that post whenever it's available. The second will be some general changes. At least I'd like to propose, considering the mod building structure of the presidential race, trying to make that a little less of a grind, more thematic, and bringing up the importance of debates in the presidential race. So keep your eye out for that as well.
Thank you. And on my end, in terms of announcements, of course, I trust most of you have seen the ModelUS meta post about how we're going to be simplifying the state structure this term, and I'll be making an announcement about that tomorrow. So the state legislature's reopening will be delayed for a while we figure out how it's going to work. But of course, there's going to be less activity at the state legislative level with a greater emphasis on the executive offices. So stay tuned for that. Any final announcements?
None for me.
If not, thank you all for watching, especially if you're watching this recording after the fact. Hi. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.